Well, it's been over a month since the US-Israeli war on Iran began. The US and Israel have been bombing Iran and assassinating key political personnel, while Iran has retaliated by striking Israel and attacking US bases in West Asia. However, the purpose and the objectives of the war keep changing. US President Donald Trump listed several objectives that he seeks to achieve before ending the war with Iran. Trump said that the prime objective of the war is to destroy and raze Iran's missile infrastructure to the ground. Even though Washington claims that most of Iran's missile capabilities have already been degraded, Tehran continues to launch missiles and drones at Israel and the Gulf monarchies. Trump has also vowed that Iran will never be allowed to get nuclear weapons. Now, earlier this week, Trump said that the US would retrieve the uranium, which is reportedly buried deep under a mountain facility. But he added that the uranium could only be retrieved if the US strikes a deal with Iran. Experts warn that without a deal, seizing the uranium will be a dangerous mission, involving a sizable deployment of US troops into Iran. Now, last weekend, Trump issued a 48-hour deadline to Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The US president threatened to strike Iran's power plants if they did not open the critical waterway. However, Trump postponed the deadline to April 6th, saying that they need to create space for in-depth, detailed and constructive talks. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, has said that the US is preparing for a ground attack despite publicly engaging in diplomatic efforts to end the war. Trump had reiterated multiple times that the US will be winding down the war. However, there is no clarity on his exit strategy. Earlier this week, the US president said that he would bring an end to the war by escalating the conflict, while also pushing for a negotiated settlement with Tehran at the same time. Meanwhile, there seems to be no red lines in the ongoing war. The US and Israel conducted overnight strikes on the Iran University of Science and Technology in Tehran. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, have warned of retaliatory strikes on US universities in West Asia. The IRGC has told the US to issue a statement condemning the bombing of the universities by 12 noon Tehran time on Monday or face the retaliatory attacks. It said that 2 universities will be struck in retaliation for the destruction of 2 Iranian universities. Iran has also repeatedly reiterated that this war is of Trump's choice. And amidst all this, the US has also replaced its negotiators midway in its ongoing talks with Iran. An Axios report has revealed that US Vice President J.D. Vance will be taking charge in conducting back-channel talks with Iran. He will be replacing Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Furthermore, Trump also loosened sanctions on oil tankers stranded at sea in a bid to contain rising fuel prices owing to the ongoing war. For every action taken by the United States and Israel, there has been an equal reaction or retaliation from Iran. The US and Israel recently struck several desalination and steel plants in Iran. In response, Iran struck desalination plants in Bahrain and industrial hubs across the Gulf, reportedly causing material damage. Earlier, we had spoken to Dr. Glenn Diesel. He's a professor of international relations at the University of Southeastern Norway. And this is what he had to say. Listen in.
Everything indicates that he will probably escalate, that is, to do a heavy bombing campaign, possibly supported by ground troops. Now, I say speculation because, well, this is essentially what the US is signaling. But on the other hand, it's not sure if they will actually go through with this because it seems to be a bit of a suicide operation. You can't just send in, 7,000 troops into Iran and be successful. It is possible that they could try to seek to capture some of these islands of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz in order to control it. But it will be, if they're able to take them, they're not able to hold them because they're within very close proximity to the Iranian mainland, and they will be sitting there like sitting ducks. So it's really unclear what the US is planning to do. And I think that's what really defines this war. That is that the US doesn't really have a strategy. They were aiming for regime change. It didn't pan out as expected, and they're not really sure what to do anymore. And so I think they're not able to declare victory and go home because the Strait of Hormuz isn't in their control. and they're not able to defeat Iran. So I think some desperate moves can be, well, that's the most likely scenario. If the objective is for Iran not to have nuclear weapons, then probably killing Khamenei, which was one of the key opponents of acquiring nuclear weapons, was not a good idea. Also, the efforts to destroy Iran's conventional deterrence, that is, its missile capabilities and drones and regional allies. If this is weakened, then they would have to rely on a nuclear deterrence. So, in this regard, I think bombing and killing a lot of people isn't necessarily achieving an objective. It's probably achieving the exact opposite.